Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with our meeting this morning. So I'm going to call our meeting to order. That today is the regularly scheduled September 20th meeting of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. So I'm going to call us to order and ask that you join us in the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as we do at the beginning of each one of our meetings, we ask that you join us in a moment of silence as we think about, remember, and pray for all of our first responders here in Flagler County, our fire rescue services, our EMS services personnel, the brave men and women of our Flagler County Sheriff's Office, and all the law enforcement officers here in Flagler County. We also need to remember and pray for all of our frontline healthcare workers that are doing just incredible work in our county in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and have been doing so for many, many months, as we all know. And of course, we can never forget and always need to remember and pray for our military personnel, the brave men and women of our United States military that keep us safe both here and abroad. So with that, if you would just join us in a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. We do have a couple of changes to our agenda. First off, we have some deletions that we need to take care of, and staff is requesting that we pull items 7E, F, G, H, and I, and these items were scheduled for approval of certificates of public convenience and necessity, or the COPCN certificates, and I believe staff wants to bring those at a future meeting and bring those forward to October. So I would entertain a motion, Commissioners, that we can.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we delete items 7E, 7F, 7G, 7H, and 7I from today's agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the deletion from the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. None opposed. That motion carries unanimous. And then a couple of announcements. The Flagler County Legislative Delegation Day is scheduled for October the 1st, 2021. That's 3 p.m. right here in these chambers. And again, that is a public hearing that is conducted by our representatives, Representative Renner and Senator Hudson. And the purpose of the meeting is for them to elect the chair and a vice chair. And you can do the math. One gets one gets the other. And then they also take public testimony on legislative issues, appropriations, and local bills that would impact Flagler County, and the public is invited and encouraged to come out and talk with their representatives. So just want to tell you, let everyone know about that. And then the next meeting of this body is our second and final public budget hearing, which is scheduled for today right here in the chambers at 5:01 p.m. And that's our final truth and millage and second and final public budget hearing meeting. So that's the extent of announcements this morning. With that, we'll move into recognitions, proclamations, and presentations. And first up, we have a recognition of a senior procurement analyst, Shannon Nolan. She's earned a certificate of a professional certificate, and that was requested by Mr. Brower and Ms. Durrant, so we'll turn it over to you.
Mr. Chair, good morning. This morning I'm asking the board to recognize and congratulate our county senior procurement analyst, Ms. Shannon Nolan, for earning the National Institute of Governmental Purchasing's Certified Procurement Professional Certification. It's a mouthful. This prestigious professional certification encompasses the knowledge and skills of today's true procurement leaders and is universally recognized within these public procurement as a symbol of dedication to the highest standards and a consistent commitment to excellence within the profession. With her achievement, she has joined a prestigious group of mid to executive level leaders who successfully demonstrated the competencies anchored in nationally recognized public procurement competency framework. This recognition furthers her credibility and distinguishes her career and the sustained impact she has and will continue to have in the county's vitally important public procurement function. This is certainly a major personal accomplishment, but it's also a major benefit to the county and the citizens we all serve. I'd like to thank the board for your vision and commitment to investing in the professional and leadership development of your staff. Your dedication and understanding of the importance of a highly trained workforce allows for us to be here this morning, for Ms. Nolan. Shannon, I'm proud to be here with you tonight to highlight this important professional certification. I know from working with you every day how dedicated and driven you are, and that there's no doubt you'll have many more successes in your career. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Holly Durns, Purchasing Manager. I don't have any fancy speeches today about Shannon, but first off, that test is hard. And passing that is just a feat in itself. And I've watched Shannon study for it over the last few months and just put her all into it. And that's who she is. She is an amazing person, an amazing employee, and it's just so awesome that she's here today with this achievement. And I'm personally happy that I was able to support her and hope to continue to be able to do that moving forward. And just, you guys really have an awesome person here with Shannon, and she deserves to be congratulated today.
Thank you, Holly, and thank you. Congratulations, Shannon. Any words or?
I have an amazing team, my teammates, my managers, and the support of the county, so thank you.
We're lucky to have you. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. All right. Okay, next up, we'll move on to proclamations. And first up, we have a proclamation recognizing Childhood Cancer Awareness Month for the month of September here in Flagler County. And I'm going to take the liberty to read that. I will tell you just a personal story. When I was just kind of odd that I get a chance to read this today. I remember when I was about 10 or 12 years old, I had a young girl that used to live in my neighborhood and used to go swimming with her and play with her, and then one day she was gone. And come to find out that it was from cancer. As you grow up, you learn things, and as you get older, you start to understand things. But that affected me when I was a child, and so the good work that you all are doing here in Flagler County, we sure appreciate it, and I'm glad that our county has a chance to recognize that and bring awareness. So with that, a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the month of September 2021 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Flagler County. Whereas each year thousands of children are diagnosed with the often life-threatening disease of cancer, and whereas childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children, and whereas 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will have chronic health conditions as a result of their treatment toxicity, with 1/4 being classified as severe to life-threatening, and whereas in the last 20 years, only 4 new drugs have been approved by the FDA to specifically treat childhood cancer, and whereas the National Cancer Institute recognizes the unique research needs of childhood cancer and the associated need for increased funding to carry this out, and whereas researchers and healthcare professionals work diligently dedicating their expertise to treat and cure children with cancer, and whereas approximately 1/2 of childhood cancer families rate the associated financial toxicity due to out-of-pocket expenses as considerable to severe, and whereas hundreds of nonprofit organizations at the local and national level, including the American Childhood Cancer Organization, are helping children with cancer and their families cope through educational, emotional, and financial support, and whereas increased awareness will bolster public support of the disease and thus increase funding for the development of new treatment options and diagnostic tools, and whereas every 2 minutes, a child is diagnosed with cancer and will hear the words, "You have cancer." And whereas the quality of life of these beautiful children will depend on the future treatment and diagnosis developments, and whereas there are 27 known children in Flagler County currently affected by childhood cancer, with 4 recently passing away. And whereas this resolution is a call to action for the citizens of Flagler County, interest groups, and affected persons to join us in promoting the awareness of childhood cancer and to foster the understanding of the impact of the disease on these small patients and their families and caregivers, and take an active role in the fight to end childhood cancer. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby declare September 2021 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Flagler County. Adopted this 20th day of September 2021, attested to by Tom Bexley, our Clerk of the Circuit Court and Comptroller, and signed by myself, Donald O'Brien, Chair. Anyone from these organizations here this morning? Morning and welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Melissa Fulling. I'm with the Live Like Cameron Foundation. On behalf of all our 27 families in Live Like Cameron, we just want to thank you for recognizing our families. We also have a run coming up this weekend that we'd like to promote. It's a fundraiser that goes directly to the Flagler County families, and it's at Town Center Sunday at 8 o'clock. And it's very casual. It's not for, serious runners are welcome, but it's basically a fun run. So we invite everybody to come join us to support these kids. And I brought flyers if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I sure am, and then maybe if you could give one to our staff and we can get that on our website as well.
That'd be great.
Cameron, was he your son?
Cameron was my son, or is my son.
Okay.
But yes, we lost Cameron to brain cancer.
And if I remember right, I think I remember meeting him when we had an event at our training center at the high school.
Yes.
Right?
The Fire Academy.
Yes, the
Yes.
Fire Academy.
Yeah, they welcomed him into the Fire Academy. He loved it.
I remember that day.
Yeah. And also, do you mind if since the kids couldn't be here, we made a banner and had all their names put on it? Can we get a picture?
We would love that, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
I can take it for you. You can all get in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to take an opportunity to recognize my friend Shannon. Each of you have a shirt that recognizes her daughter Essie, and it's a Stronger Than Cancer shirt. And you can get these to support Shannon and her daughter, but just wanted to, she's a great supporter of Flagler Schools, a great family in the county, and just wanted to show our support.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the proclamation for Childhood Cancer, Cancer Awareness Month.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And of course, none opposed. A motion carries unanimously. Second up, we have a proclamation recognizing National Domestic Violence Month. And I've asked Commissioner Dance to read that proclamation.
My pleasure, thank you. This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the month of October 2021 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security. And for most of us, home and family can indeed be counted among our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many Americans, their home is tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas family violence is a crime that transcends race, religion, ethnicity, and economic stature, with one of its greatest tragedies being its effect on our children. And whereas an estimated 4.8 million cases of domestic violence occur each year, tragically killing an average of 3 women every day nationally. And whereas the Family Life Center is the only certified domestic violence emergency shelter and sexual assault center in Flagler County and has served 5,618 victims in the past year. And whereas each October, the formal recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month allows the community to acknowledge and show their support for the victims of this horrific crime. And whereas the Flagler County Advocates Alliance, comprised of the Flagler County Sheriff's Office Victim Advocate, the Flagler Beach Police Department Victim Advocates, the State Attorney's Victim Advocate for the 7th Judicial Circuit, Flagler, and the Family Life Center, and the Flagler County Domestic Violence Task Force membership are committed to confront this crisis and are working together to increase public understanding of this problem and mobilize community efforts to end domestic violence in Flagler County. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby declare the month of October 2021 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Flagler County, and urge all citizens of Flagler County to become a part of the community response to end domestic violence and to send the message that this crime will not be tolerated in our community. As we spread awareness of domestic violence in our community during the month of October, we recognize that it takes an entire community to stand together and make a difference. Together, we can break the cycle and impact the lives of future generations. Adopted this 20th day of September 2021.
Ms. Trish, did you come forward?
Good morning, and thank you so much for reading that so beautifully, Andy. I want to thank you all for your continued support of the services that we provide in this community. Nearly 20 individuals a minute are victims of intimate partner violence. That's a significant amount. With that said, I also want to share that domestic violence isn't isolated, and we talk about the childhood cancer awareness. So there are children who have cancer, and there could be domestic violence in their home. There are children who are suffering other illnesses and issues, and there's domestic violence in the home. So we just want to make sure that you all recognize that domestic violence doesn't stop and it's not isolated. Our emergency shelter, was open the entire time during COVID. Not just open, but full. And so while we worked from home, many of you, we, the advocates of Flagler County, were in the shelter providing support to families. Our hotline tripled over the time of COVID for people reaching out for assistance. So it is a very prevalent issue here in this county. With that said, I do want to let you know that we have partnered with Daytona State College, and we are offering a free half-day conference on October 15th, and we will be sure to send that to you electronically. Make sure that Lucy's got it to send it out. And it's going to be several sessions. There are 6 different sessions related to domestic violence. And again, these are all free. They are being hosted. Although we are hosting it, there are several trainers that are offering each session, including for clergy, general population, just the public, and those that are working with kids. So again, I just want to thank you so much for identifying October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I continue to ask for your support for those families that are most in need and cannot be here today. Does anybody else want to say anything?
Good morning. I'm Candace Wilkie. I'm the Domestic Violence Services Coordinator for the Family Life Center. And I just want to say that throughout the month of October, we're asking you to wear purple. Thanks so much, Andy. Purple is the color for domestic violence, so we're asking everyone to wear purple every Thursday throughout October in recognition of National Domestic Violence Awareness Month to raise awareness within the community. Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do what we do without your support.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Candace. All right. Anyone else? I know.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioner, Sheriff Rick Staley. I just want to tell you what we're seeing in Flagler County year to date. So far, domestic violence offenses are up 3% year to date over last year. Our arrests are up 9%. or violations of injunctions, arrests are up 52%. So while we made great progress the first three years before COVID with our partners like the Family Life Center, COVID really added some extra stressors to the family unit, and we're seeing that. And we maintain a great relationship with the Family Life Center and our other partners on domestic violence, and we have a pro-arrest policy. So for any potential offenders listening, you will go to my hotel if you assault someone. So thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anyone else from the group? Okay, I know Commissioner Mullins, you had.
Yeah, no, I would just like to say thank you all for what you do. You do an incredible job, and this is so important for our community. I don't think it should be ever underplayed. I don't think we should ever take it lightly. This is important. Not many communities have organizations like this and are blessed to have it. I also challenge the cities to step up and support this organization as well. I know the county is very strong doing it. I was a little shocked at seeing what the cities put into it, and I publicly like to challenge them to step up with it as well, because we need to stop this in our community. Sheriff, thank you for what you and your staff do.
And Commissioner Dance, thank you for serving, representing us on the Family Life Center's board.
Thank you.
So with that, would you all take a photo with us? Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing the month of October 2021 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Try to skip.
Thank you guys for what y'all do.
Okay, next up, we're going to go through a presentation, which is an update of our Tyler Munis software package, and that was requested and going to be done, I guess, by our clerk's office, and you're going to kick it off, Mr. Shoup?
I am going to kick it off. Jared Shoup, Chief Information Officer for Flagler County. Just wanted to show that this is a big project we've been working on. As you know, there were 2 phases. It was approved in March of 2019. There was both a clerk and a BOCC side of the project, as well as the sheriff's. The sheriff has moved ahead. I believe you're pretty close to going fully live on the last phase. The county's a little further behind with that, and with that, you also see that we do have one consent item that goes along with this. So with that, the clerk and the county are going to go through a little explanation. We'll be here for any questions that you may have. So I'd like to bring up Carlos Garcia. He's the Chief Information Officer for the Flagler Clerk and Comptroller.
Hi, Carlos, welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
Carlos Garcia, Flagler County Clerk and Comptroller. Just wanted to talk today a little bit about what our efforts have been over the course of this project. Today, the steering committee that meets every Tuesday to discuss the new financial systems progress felt compelled to provide the board with a status update, as we were making some really good progress with the implementation. And as project manager, I'm really excited about that. A project like the Munis system implementation, which replaces our financial system, has ramifications throughout both board and clerk organizations, meaning that the clerk's office and the county have had to rethink how we do business and how it affects those who we do business with. Internal processes have been reviewed and modified to better utilize the new software to gain maximum efficiencies possible. Doing this has been no easy task, as you can imagine, given the multitude of internal and external processes that we have handled in our existing organization. Today, let's talk a little bit about the history that has led us to where we are today in the project. The board and clerk teams have endured the pain of suffering and conforming to new laws that require better policies while operating on a more than a 20-year-old financial system with no capability to automate workflows, streamline business processes that could make our workforce operate more efficiently. Today, there are far too many paper processes due to the outdated policies that have remained in place because we have a 20-year-old system on our hands. The board and clerk teams realize that we now require a better system that allows the board and clerk teams to collaborate better and work better, more efficiently together to provide real-time financial data to the financial decision makers of the county. The Tyler Munis system was collectively selected to modernize policies, business processes, and more importantly, streamline the way board and clerk financial teams work together to deliver real-time financial data for the financial decision makers of Flagler County. On March 4th, the board approved the multi-year implementation, which brings the board and clerk teams to where we are today in the project. The Tyler Munis implementation will be deployed in multiple phases. Phase 1 of the implementation, the InterGov, was completed in 2020, currently being utilized by the Building and Permitting Department. Phase 2, which is one of the more complex and critical modules of the system integration or implementation, is the financials, which this is where we pretty much established a chart of accounts for the new financial system. And we're within striking distance of bringing the financial phase online in the first quarter of 2022. The phase 3, 4, and 5, HR, payroll, and asset management will be completed by the second quarter of 2023. Along the way, we came across some project challenges. Please bear in mind that all board and clerk teams that are challenged with completing the day-to-day obligations are the same teams that are working on the demanding schedule for the new software implementation. The only outside resources we've had in the project is that of a business analyst that was brought onto the project to help with re-engineering and all the workflows and business processes from the old financial system and that we're going to realize in the new system that will improve upon that. Everything else is being handled by board and clerk teams that exist today. There hasn't been any new staff that has been added to any of the projects, both on the clerk and the board side. The second, everything else, and to this, the result has led to two outcomes. The first has been to keep the cost down by utilizing those resources that we have and that are currently available. The second, and challenge, has been to implement this project while maintaining day-to-day operations at the standard that the public has come to expect. Doing this, however, has put a strain on our resources, in particular our people. Loss of FTEs at times have resulted in time tables changing on us a little bit. The pressures and unpredictability of the current COVID situation and the pandemic have placed additional burdens on implementing the project of this size as well on the timetables that we had originally designated. The scheduling of meetings and the uncertainty of personnel being sick has been a problem. On more than a few occasions, we've had to postpone the meetings due to those that were affected by the pandemic. But we continue to march through and try to get through the project as best as we can. Which brings me to our project summary as a group. Having said all this, it is our intention, sorry about that. Having said all this, it is our intention to still hit the go live date for phase 2, which is the more complicated phase of the project in the second quarter of 2022. I think that I can speak for the entire implementation team that meets with the steering committee in saying that we have a high degree of confidence that we will meet that date. However, we have come to learn that things happen as we move forward. there's an element of uncertainty that we have to account for and manage when trying to implement a project of this scope and size. In order to effectively complete all remaining phases of the project team will need $600,000 to cover the project costs, and this includes a $100,000 contingency. This investment covers the re-engineering of outdated business processes, effectuating better policies, and training our staff to utilize the new financial system. Ultimately, our goal is to complete the financial system project that allows our teams to provide real-time financial data to administrators who are required to make informed decisions timely. Our completion schedule, as you can see, is we had talked about earlier. Phase 1 intergov is completed. We're into and within striking distance of getting the financial phase of the project online. And Phase 3 for the Phase 4 and Phase 5 HR payroll and also enterprise asset management is due to come online by Q2 of 2022. So at this time, we're open to any questions that we may have or the board may have for myself or the project management or the steering committee related to the project.
Commissioners?
Now, I had some questions earlier, but they were all answered, so I'm good.
Okay. A couple, two. If you had to give a time frame, about how much time did we lose in implementation because of COVID in terms of months, if you had to ballpark it?
Ballpark it, I would say roughly around 6 months.
Okay. And the additional cost is not related to software costs, it's the implementation side and the project management side that we, as you get into this project and we've gone further down the line, we've uncovered that we need to expend in order to properly implement. Is that correct?
And that's, yes, and we have the existing resources. Our teams have not grown in FTEs.
Right.
So that's just to cover project management costs.
Yes, sir. I mean, I know we appreciate the, all that the clerk's office is doing and the teamwork together, and it's a massive project, and we know we're not shirking. It's just a matter of bringing this thing home and getting it done. So.
And we're pretty excited that we're close to actually having that realized.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It just takes a long time to implement. It's not like buying a package, taking it out of the box, and getting it working.
We're really looking forward to eliminating all the paper and having everything flow through the board and the clerk's office electronically.
Yep.
When we signed up for this, we knew it was going to be hard.
Yeah.
We knew how difficult this was going to be, so congratulations on keeping it moving. So
all right.
That's good.
Thank you.
So if there's no other presentation, I think we've had our questions answered, and we'll deal with it on the consent agenda, I guess. So, and again, we thank the clerk's office for y'all for coming today, and
thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Carlos. Okay, next up is a presentation on Flagler County's Transit Development Plan. And who do we have to do that?
I believe the consultant was not able to attend in person, but will be joining us through Zoom.
We are here on Zoom. Can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Yes, you are recognized. Please introduce yourself, and let's get started.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Martin Catala, and I am on the aligned with Dr. Victoria Perk, and we're with the Center for Urban Transportation Research located at the University of South Florida. And today we wanted to formally connect with the Board of County Commissioners about activities we're doing with the Transportation Department. A point of our discussion today is to just inform you about the Transit Development Plan, its importance, some of its components, and some initial progress we're making on this project. We provided slides. I cannot see them from where I'm at right now. If we could move on to the next slide, that'd be appreciated. One of the reasons we're, connecting remotely is when we initially started this project, it was in the heart of COVID, and there was not anticipation that we'd be making any in-person meetings. We're looking to try to change that opportunity with rearranging some of our funding so we could travel. When we were first starting this project, we were not allowed to travel under the state contract. That said, when we wanted to communicate about the Transit Development Plan, we thought it's important that we recognize what it is. It's a 10-year planning document that looks towards the future of what public transportation needs in the community will be, and to develop a strategic blueprint for how the county should progress with its future development. Also, the TDP, is a marketing tool, as there's a great many outreach activities in the TDP. And I know we've met with several of, all but one, I think, of the county commissioners, so we can highlight that awareness and get the input from the community. And then, most importantly, we think an element about the Transit Development Plan is to articulate that it is yours. It is Flagler County's Transit Development Plan, and it should reflect the interests of the community and defined by the feedback and communication and with all the folks that are stakeholders in the system. Next slide, please. As I was alluding to, there's a local emphasis on the TDP, but we also have regional considerations. So obviously Flagler County has transportation needs, but we're also looking at the impact and the interplay between regional governments, employment opportunities. And also we are engaging with the public through an on-board survey. So all of the riders that currently use the system, we're going to be asking about the quality of service, as well as we have a online survey for the community to be engaged with their thoughts and input on the TDP. I've shared that the URL, the web address for that, with a couple of the commissioners, and later on in this presentation, you'll see that, and we'd like it to be shared widely where folks see appropriate. Additionally, this same web address is linked on the Transportation Department's website. So any folks that are navigating there can also find the Flagler Forward URL link to the survey. One of the components is that we want to look at what's needed and desired in the community, and we kind of combine what's called an unconstrained vision that is sort of buttressed or constrained by what's attainable targets. So we will include projects in this effort that don't have funding specifically, as well as trying to identify activities and projects that can be currently funded. An important component of the TDP is to recognize that it's a required document by the Florida Department of Transportation that secures funding from the Florida Department of Transportation to support the Flagler County Public Transportation Services. Additionally, the TDP becomes a tool to allow Flagler County to leverage federal dollars that can also further improve and serve the community with support through the public transportation activities. So that's an important component that we want to always communicate, that this TDP, while important as a planning document, also becomes an important component to secure funding to support the activities of the Transportation Department. Again, this is a document that is a planning document, and I think with all elements like that, we consider it a living document. It will continue to evolve, and it will incorporate new ideas and opportunities. It is has what they call minor updates annually. But this major update is due every 5 years and will be needed to be adopted by the board by December 1st. That's an important distinction for us to recognize. You will see us again after we're done with our process, and we'll be talking about some of the identified projects that we're looking to support based on the feedback and opportunities we see in the during the TDP process. Next slide, please. The TDP is composed of a whole bunch of elements where we look at the baseline conditions. These are like the demographic characteristics. We look at the existing services. We participate and engage through a public involvement plan, which is pretty extensive, and I'll show you kind of an illustration of that next. We do an appraisal of the conditions, and then we start establishing goals and objectives based on the feedback, the observations, and input from folks that we engage with. We try to assess the demand for certain services and start developing alternatives and evaluating them, and ultimately compose a 10-year transit plan. And we try to compose with the transit plan an implementation and coordination plan, which will be actually the steps required to achieve those. Again, this is a living document. Every year you have to reevaluate where you're at and what's attainable. But these components are something we build off of and adjust accordingly as the conditions of the county and the community change. Next slide, please. So this is our public involvement plan. It's probably looks a little bit more extensive or confusing, but we have a survey, which is direct input from folks who participate in the services, as well as seeking input from the community. We participate in meetings like this today, where we provide just information, and also today we'll be providing a link to the survey that you personally can take, as well as forward to folks that you're interested in. And we're going to be conducting other outreaches with community stakeholders, neighborhood associations, and the like, to make sure we get as many voices integrated into the TDP. So this is our plan that we're going to be progressing through. We're already in the heart of the onboard survey, set to be complete this week. And we're going to be conducting more outreach activities like this over the next 2 weeks or so. Next slide. So this is, our intent is to inform you, formally connect with the board, but also to promote our online survey. So we encourage all folks that are watching to please take the survey. If you have a phone, a mobile device, you can actually scan the QR code that's on the screen. I believe these are recorded and can be watched after the fact. And then also, if you'd like, you could just type in the URL. We've actually shortened the URL so that it's easy to access for folks. So this is our device to help you connect and communicate your interests, thoughts, and concerns about public transportation in Flagler County. Next slide, please. So that is what we're here today. We are happy to take any questions or answers. I know I've spoken to several, Victoria and I have spoken to several of the commissioners already, but we're really wanting to talk about the future and current public transportation in Flagler County. So we thank you for your time this morning, and sorry for the small glitch as we were connecting. But again, thank you for your opportunity to speak to the board and your community.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
No, sir.
Ms. Petito, anything?
No, sir. I know that, am I on? Here we go. No, sir. I think that they were trying to do some community outreach, which is why they had reached out to everybody, which was really the emphasis behind this presentation today, to let the residents know that we are in the middle of updating our plan and to seek some input. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to the first community outreach session for this morning. And again, as a reminder, this is a 30-minute time period allotted for public comment on any consent agenda items or topics not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. So I declare community outreach is now open. Please come forward.
Gentlemen, by the way, in our will, if Mark and I die together, we leave most of everything to St. Jude Hospital for Children's Cancer. I'm here
Ms.
on...
Yude, you have to identify yourself for the record,
Sorry,
please.
Jane Gentile Yude. I am here on several issues. One of them started out with the old Dixie Motel and turned into a vicious personal attack on me losing an election and the county attorney forwarding my emails that I send to 4 commissioners all the time. I have never sent an email to Commissioner Mullins since August of 2020, and I do not appreciate Al Hadid forwarding emails that are public record, but don't forward them. We have a big issue here, the old Dixie Motel. I did send some pictures I took yesterday to Commissioner Sullivan, and I sent it to Commissioner Dance this morning, the deplorable condition of the property, in my opinion. But that's not the issue at hand right here. Jerry Cameron called me several weeks ago, and he asked me, what's going on, Jane, with the old hotel that I've been trying, thank God for Jerry. Well, Adam Engel told me that everything was extended, that's the way I remember it, till December. And Jerry said that's not true. Well, Adam sent me a letter sent by Al Hadid to the managing directors of the new owner, and none of you were CC'd, by the way. You all have this copy. It was September 8th. The CCs do not include the county commission. And it just says, we conducted a review and the agreement you executed in May 2021. The agreement executed by Jerry Cameron said that if all the permits were not pulled by August 20th of this year, the owners had to post a $250,000 bond with the clerk of court. This commission never voted to change that agreement. Mr. Hadid sends a letter to them on September 8th. Our preference is not to take formal action. Please send us a schedule of the completion of all your rough inspections as soon as possible. So Al Hadid, on his own, without your authorization, did this. I think the bond needs to be posted immediately. Thirdly, what is really disgusting is that we have paid McKinnon, an outside law firm, $10,741 to litigate this from the beginning, and we recuperated $10,190 in fines. So here we have a loss of revenue to begin with, a hotel that still looks like a dump, the permits not pulled, and the hard work of our former county administrator totally ignored by a letter from your county attorney, signed but not sent to you. He calls me all kinds of names. I lost an election. He doesn't know what's wrong with me. Sends my email to Joe Mullins, who calls me psychotic. Well, we have big problems here. We have a county attorney doing things without your permission, and we have this bond money that is overdue to the court. This commission
All right, thanks,
never
Ms. Hughes.
revoked the bond.
Thank you, Ms. Yude.
And needs to be addressed today. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Kara Hoblick with the Florida Agricultural Museum, Executive Director. First, I would like to thank you for your continued support, and you will be hearing a request for funding this morning, item 7M. This funding request is crucial. As you all know, we have spent the past 4 years at the museum climbing out of a huge financial hole. We are financially self-sufficient now. We have proven that. And we can stand on our own feet, so now is the time to take the next step to receive state funding and to receive attention to the state of Florida that this agricultural museum is extremely important and it needs to have an expansion project, which the county is helping us develop, the marketing for it, and it's a very exciting time, so I would like to thank you again for all of your your support, and I will look forward to doing wonderful things in the future and making the Ag Museum shine for Flagler County. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Next speaker, please. Okay, seeing no one else come forward, we'll close the public, the community outreach section, our first section for this morning. Mr. Adida, I'd give you a chance to respond if you like, but I'll preface that by saying that I don't speak for the other commissioners, but I will say that when it comes to staff work, I have a deep trust that staff will inform us when they need to inform us or bring things to the public meetings when appropriate. And I've never had in my 5 years of serving an occasion to think that wasn't the case, regardless of who was in administration. So if you want to respond to that, you're welcome to do that or clarify.
I plan to do an update on the case.
Would you like
under
to
my
leave it till
report,
then?
But the only thing I wanted to say was that I can't allow any citizen or any entity to stop me from communicating with all 5 commissioners on an issue when a county issue is raised, especially a matter that's in litigation, especially when there's an assertion that an agreement that we entered has been violated. So I realize that there is a back and forth between Ms. Ude and Mr. Mullins, but I cannot allow that to inhibit me from communicating to all of you on a legal matter. And I can't allow no one can tell me, I want you to keep Commissioner X off of a distribution concerning a legal matter. I'm not free to do that. My obligation is to you. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I want to put on the record too, I have asked Attorney Hadid to copy me or send me any emails to certain subject matters, especially continued attacks on staff and blatant hundreds and hundreds of emails a week using up staff's time because I'm very concerned about this. When a person becomes unhinged and is continuing to hurt staff or yell at staff or call them certain things, that there's some attention that needs to come. So I have asked him personally to send me those.
All right, item 5B is board comments on consent agenda items. Again, not necessarily pulling anything, but just comments. So we'll start with you, Commissioner Dance.
And not pulling, we're going to reach that later?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, and I just wanted to thank staff for pulling the COPCNs for additional information, because those would have been pulled otherwise by me, but that's it.
Commissioner Mullins.
No, just 7I, I just want to clarify with staff, we're not talking about pulling any, when it says uncollectible accounts receivables, we're not talking about the money that Weeks and McDonald and all them owe the county, because I know that's becoming, I don't know what the status on with it is. I hope certainly we're not looking at that being uncollectible. Is that correct?
No, sir, I don't believe that is, and I think you're referring to 7L.
Yes.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry if I said it wrong.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I don't have any items there, so we'll go now to the consent agenda item, and prior to the motion, any items that need to be pulled. Commissioner Dance.
7Q, please.
Commissioner Hanson.
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Mullins.
I have none.
And I have none. So I'll entertain a motion on this one. Commissioner Hanson, if you keep it straight, or somebody. Those were all already deleted from the agenda. Okay.
I'll try. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of those that we've already pulled and deleted, and then 7Q. We want to pull that.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, that motion carries unanimously. So the only item for discussion right now as a separate item is 7Q. So Commissioner Dance?
Sure, I just wanted to have staff verbally just give an update on the Sheriff's Administration Operations Center on scheduling and just the overall status of the project as a verbal presentation. Thank you.
Sure. Good morning again, Holly Durns, Purchasing Manager. We actually have Ajax with us today. Lon Newman is our project manager, and I think he'd be more than willing to give you a project update and let you know where we're at with everything.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Lon Newman. I'm with Ajax Building Company, your construction manager on the project. The update is that we had previously authorized and approved our GMP 1 for the site work. As you can see, we're out there moving, making really good headway with that. And then we went out to bid and have finalized the final GMP to complete everything that's in the bidding, the documents to complete the facility. From a budgeting standpoint, it came in about almost $200,000 less than our previous estimate. So I was really proud of the team for the amount of bidders. We got multiple bids on every scope of work, so we're really good there. From a scheduling standpoint, what we had laid out before has segued itself really, even with the rain, just like we had hoped. We've gotten the site work. It was great teamwork with the county. They did the clearing for us. We got the the aggregate pier foundations in. So, if this GMP is approved, we have the concrete and steel subs already doing their paperwork and submittals so we can get the foundations going. The schedule for it was always scheduled to be about a 14, 15-month schedule, and we've already gotten 2 months of that out of the way. So right now, what we have in the document is to be substantially complete October 10th of next year. So by Halloween time or Florida Georgia game of next year, everything should be in, trained, moved in, and sheriff and everybody should be in. I know I feel fully certain, and I can see the sheriff's eyes, that for every opportunity we have to be able to improve upon that, we're going to improve upon that. And it doesn't do us any good to stay out there longer than we need to, but that's what delivery dates. One of the specific ones that is a problem child these days is bar joist. They take a little bit longer to get, so we're about March at getting those in right now. That's a 30,000-foot view of that.
That was one of the questions I had. I know in speaking with other contractors, certain materials are significantly delayed and problematic. So I just wanted to make sure you've worked through all that and have everything lined up.
We have, and through our cooperation with y'all before in the previous GMP, we put an allowance. So as soon as we got the bids in from the other subs, we were able to immediately put them under contract. And as soon as they sign that prohibits the ability to escalate and get all those important items flowing.
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Cool.
Any other questions, commissioners? All right, thank you, sir.
Sir.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Phase 2 of the guaranteed maximum price proposal from Ajax for the Flagler County Sheriff's District 3 Administration and Operations Center in the amount of $15,977,684.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll open this up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, that motion carries unanimously. Okay. We'll move on to public hearings. And I'll just remind everybody about, we'll remind everybody about our quasi-judicial process. Again, this is, the audience should refrain from clapping, booing, and shouts of approval or disagreement to avoid potential legal ramification or possible overturning of a decision by the courts. A public hearing must be fair in 3 respects: from substance and appearance. So our first item here is a quasi-judicial matter. It's application number 3260, request for approval of a PUD site development plan, and adoption of specific development standards for Plantation Bay Section 2A through F, Unit 16. The owner is WL Residential Land LLC, represented by their agent, Jerry K. Finley, professional engineer, Finley Engineering Solutions, and the project number is delineated in our agenda. So with that, Mr. Menkel?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
wait, excuse me, we need to work through our ex parte communications. Commissioner Dance?
None.
I've had none, sir.
I've had none. And Mr. Mullins? Commissioner Mullins, any ex parte communication on this item?
None.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Menkel, proceed.
Thank you, sir. Boundary is shown on the graphic that you have, also including your staff report, and this is superimposed with the plan as it's presented into that graphic. And so to give you some orientation, at the north end and just off the drawing is Old Dixie Highway. Then along that west side of the boundary is the Strickland Canal that runs north to south, and then the FGUA plant for the Plantation Bay Utilities is just to the northwest of this site. And so that gives you some orientation. The main gate that's off of Old Dixie is going to be off of this graphic also, and to your top right, heading kind of northeast from this site. And so here's that planned unit development designation shown in the zoning map, and you can see the agricultural areas that are adjacent to it. But this is part of that area that was originally part of the DRI, part of the PUD. This was part of our swap plans that we had that came through just a few months ago, but always part of the DRI and the PUD itself. Also mixed use, low intensity, consistent with the DRI on the land use side, and then showing that there's no flood hazard area, no significant special flood hazard area that's part of these lands. And then your soil types, and some of those soil types being somewhat problematic, that 08 Hicoria, Riviera, Gator soils, depressional, you can see just to the side of this site, but those are very limited in their scope and are, for the most part, avoided by the development plan that you have. And again, that wetland area, you can see that matches up to the Hicoria soils that you saw along that that southwest boundary of the parcel. So again, here's that detail. This is the bulk of what you'll see as far as the layout for the PUD site development plan. This will return to you as part of a preliminary plat. We anticipate probably within the next 2 months, but you'll see that the plat will look very close to this depiction. Again, designated as low-density residential, 4 to 6 dwelling units per acre. 73 total single-family detached residential lots, a minimum lot width of 50 feet, minimum lot size of 6,500 square feet to each of those lots. And then this also requires a specific, an amendment to the specific development standards that you saw in your packet, and that being our practice, we add a separate standards sheet that delineates the dimensional requirements, the densities for each of these developments. So that document that we had last was amended, I believe, for Unit 13. Now it's amended for Unit 16, and so you see that it's amended and restated its entirety. With that, the recommendation from staff and the Planning Board in their unanimous vote on this, and I believe it was the August 10th meeting, was the Board of County Commissioners finds that the site development plan and specific development standards for Plantation Bay Section 2AF Unit 16 are consistent with the comprehensive plan, the land development code, and the Plantation Bay DRI development order, and approves the PUD site development plan for Plantation Bay Section 2AF Unit 16 and the amendment to the specific development standards for Plantation Bay Section 2AF to include standards for Unit 16 as adopted through an ordinance. And with that, I'll close, await any questions or comments. Both Mr. Finley and Mr. Smith are present for any questions that you have. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Menkel?
Oh, excuse me, water management? Do we have swales or drainage systems in place?
Yeah, this will have a curb and gutter system, I recall, and so it'll be permitted through the district. I think that's underway now.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Dance.
Just a general question for the engineer applicant. Is there specific constraints regarding construction for residential development right now? Is there supply chain problems and costs affecting lots? How much have lots gone up in price per lot due to the COVID issues affecting pricing and materials?
Jerry Finley Engineering Solutions, everything's up and hard to get. Whether it's windows for buildings, whether it's PVC pipe, concrete structures, everything is hard to get and long lead times and prices up.
Do you know how that's affecting lot prices or the average cost per development of a lot?
Dick Smith, ICI Homes. I can't give any specifics, but yes, prices are going up and they change regularly. All of our proposals from our vendors and our site contractors and so forth have very short expirations because they're changed on a daily basis. I don't know if you're looking for a specific percentage, but I can't really give you one.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I know it wasn't
It's a challenge.
prepared for the question. I was curious. I know, we're seeing a lot of development in the area. I was just curious as to how that's affecting the base cost per lot in these subdivisions, that's all.
It is a very distinct challenge. I can't give any specifics on percentages, and it changes regularly.
How do future impact fees affect you?
Well, we always keep tabs on it and try to understand what the impacts are going to be. Our main thing is just knowing before we get started on a project what those are going to be, and nothing changing during the process.
Yeah, I wanted to allow you time for your presentation.
Talk to the cost issue.
Go ahead.
Pre-crash 2007 or so, we were doing 50 and 60-foot lots. Development costs were in the $8,000 a lot range. A year or two ago, that $8,000 a lot range was close to $35,000 to $40,000. Today, it's, I'm going to guess, in the $60,000 to develop a lot. Wow. That's
Thank you.
huge.
You still, do you need to have any more presentation time, Mr. Finley and Mr. Smith? Okay, just want to make sure.
If you
All
have
right.
questions, we'll answer.
Yeah, any other questions, commissioners? All right, we'll open this item up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this specific item?
Jane Gentile, Youth Plantation Bay. I hope I'm not speaking with deaf ears. First of all, everybody enters Plantation Bay through the main entrance, which is totally subsidized by the Plantation Bay Homeowners Association. Not one dime pays for our roads or security by ICI or any developer. Therefore, all these new homes are going to enter through the main entrance. What the commission needs to do is to table this until, number one, the third entrance is opened, and that all these homes need to use the third entrance and not use our roads that we have to maintain of our pocket, which has nothing to do with the Westlake CDD. Everyone should have gotten a notice. Secondly, the county gave back 40 acres to the developer, and I don't know why the developer did that, but in Flagler County, there is not one amenity, amenity, which is a violation, in my opinion, as a forming zone member, of level of services required for residents who live in a community. The old Dixie Park is a county park. The park in Plantation Bay is in Volusia County and 3.5 miles from the nearest home in Flagler County with 4 parking spaces. No amenities whatsoever to anyone in Flagler County. And the setbacks to me 5 feet between you and your neighbor. This is a 20-foot driveway. SUVs average 17 and a half feet. But I cannot tell you what is good and what is bad, but I can tell you that everyone in Plantation Bay, not West, we should have gotten public notice because they use our roads. They don't pay a dime for security. Westlake residents do. The contractors don't. They come and they use our roads, they crack our roads, they don't pay a dime, and the most important thing is you must insist that that third entrance is opened. If you see the backup at the main gate, our control access doesn't even check driver's licenses anymore because the lines are sometimes 35 and 40 cars to get in the gate that they are sharing. I think it is a disgrace that all of us who have to subsidize the roads didn't even get a public notice. I myself was so concerned with the other things that I didn't even realize that this was on the agenda to yesterday. But giving back 40 acres that have nothing to do and letting a developer build without one amenity for any resident, to me, is the biggest disgrace I have ever seen in the 42 years that I've been involved in politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ude. Anyone else from the public wish to comment on this item? All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Any other applicant and/or staff comments or presentations? All right, entertain a motion, commissioners.
Make a motion that we approve 9A quasi-judicial application 3260.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimous. Thank you, everyone. All right, we'll move on to our second quasi-judicial matter. This is application number 3259, request for a special use in the agricultural district. That's parcel number 30-10-28. 0000-01010 bunch of zeros, 155 plus acres. The owner is Rainier Forest Resources LP. The applicants, Florida Renewable Partners and Kim Lee Horn and Associates Incorporated. We've had backup material on this in our readings. Mr. Mankel.
Did you want to do the disclosures?
Yes,
Mr.
I
Chairman?
apologize.
Sorry.
Thank you for keeping me on track there.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
All right. Any, since this is a quasi-judicial matter, any ex parte communication disclosures on this item?
None, sir.
I have none, sir.
Mr.
None.
Mullins. I did have a teleconference, I guess, with the folks from Florida Renewable Partners, just to give me an outline of the project, so it would disclose that. So,
I had that as well. I didn't.
okay?
Yeah.
I think it's proper to disclose that, so, all right. With that, go ahead, Mr. Mankel.
So this is the request for a solar farm in the AC district, and it's handled as a special use request. As special uses are allowed as major utility installations is the context that's used in the Land Development Code. And those major utility installations are special uses. And so those process for that goes through a Planning and Development Board hearing that was held this last month, actually a week and a half ago, I think was that date. And you see the unofficial minutes in your packet, unanimous recommendation from the Planning and Development Board for approval. And then the vote by the Board of County Commissioners. And your options, you can approve with conditions, or deny, or table, or continue this request. And so out of that portion of the subject parcel, the outline in red is that part that's showing for the actual solar farm itself. And you can see where it's adjoining Putnam County to the west. And portion of this project is over the border into Putnam County. And here's our future land use designation for this, showing the area of agriculture and then small area of conservation to the south, agricultural zoning for the entirety of the parcel, and then the special flood hazard area and how that matches up. And no portion of this area that's dedicated for the solar farm showing up into that designation. Your soils showing some problematic areas that correspond to some wetlands, and the wetland map then predictably showing a couple of pockets of wetlands that we believe are there presumptively. This is the national inventory, so that ground truth always, and their site plan does show the presence of those wetlands. And so what they've done here in this graphic, and what you'll see on the left side, on the west side of Putnam, in Putnam County, you'll see the portion of the solar farm that's in Putnam County itself. And so we're an area that previously, well, it's all been silviculture in the area. It's all been agriculture. And this particular parcel had been planted for silvicultural purposes, and then now would have those solar panels. They are articulated solar panels that would move to follow the sun. They number, let's see where it has it here. There were some thousands, I think, that are planned, and it's detailed in the graphic. And then the roadways that are here are not actual roadways; they're aggregate pathways that allow for very limited maintenance. There won't be anyone here at this site or the Putnam County site on a regular basis. They'll be here only for maintenance purposes. The only maintenance activity that will happen will be the cutting of the grass, is what's anticipated, and then some panel maintenance itself as that's needed. Security fencing around the entirety of the project area, gated, again, limited access off of Yelvington Road. And so that to give you that orientation one more time, this is that far, you can see at the top end, St. Johns County boundary there, Putnam County along the west side of the project, and a very mostly inaccessible area of the county. And previously just used for those agriculture purposes, this time for a green industry, which we're in favor of. With that, the recommendation from staff, the Board of County Commissioners finds that the special use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, Flagler County Land Development Code, and approves the special use for the installation of a solar energy facility on a 155-acre portion of parcel 301028, 40s 01010 and 40, subject to development of the site consistent with the site plan dated May 11th, 2021. I'll attempt to answer any questions or respond to any comments that you have. I believe our applicant could not be present because they still had this on their calendar for the evening meeting, but maybe they've come in while I've been talking. And certainly, again, I'll attempt to answer any questions or comments that you have. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Mangle, Commissioners? All right. Okay. I don't have any questions, so we'll open this one up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on item 9B?
Greg Blesse, President and CEO of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber. You probably saw in your backup materials that we wrote a letter supporting this project. Zero incentives used to have FPL and FRP come in and do this. Environmentally friendly and innovative industry. The Chamber urges the Board of County Commissioners to vote yes unanimously in support of this if possible. I think we need to send an open message to the business community, letting them know when they come here, they protect the environment and wetlands, and they bring a very cool project like this that Flagler County is open for business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blase. Anyone else from the public wish to comment on this item? All right, seeing no one come forward, no additional questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 9B, application 3259, request for special use.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Next item is a legislative matter, and this is the Fifth Amendment to the Hunters Ridge Development of Regional Impact. Applicant owner Glenn Fishman, U.S. Capital Alliance LLC, represented by agents Kim C. Booker and Associates PA, and Kimberly Buck PA, and also Allen Engineering Group. Mr. Mangle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a legislative item, so no disclosures needed. We did also realize, and we spoke quickly in a sidebar, the owners are not present because today is a Jewish holiday, and so it will be Kim Booker and Kim Buck representing the applicant, and myself representing staff, providing this report. You saw a change within your packet. This Map H master plan map reflects that change, has that language for the purple area that does include some acknowledgement there that there's a hope of future discussions with the school district and school board itself to be able to negotiate that recreation amenity that you saw last in August. And so for the moment, that's been taken away from the application along with the breadth of that recreation amenity. And so this is a curtailed application, but one that we're in favor of, submitted by the applicant to be able to renew this effort and also to now have the DOT agreement, the same as you had seen previously. There's been some Scrivener's errors that have been corrected in that, and the conditions report that we have, that recommended conditions reflecting, among other things, I'll show you those changes here in a moment. I've got a better list here of those. This is the detail on that Map H, showing that area where the school site would be, along with that alternative that we're thinking will be a future application to amend the development order. And you'll see here that the planning corresponds very well to what had been done previously. There are the distinction here with this, the phasing is being eliminated. Some of your multifamily language is changing, so there's some density adjustments, but you can see for the most part, the areas intended for development are still being developed. There's not any increase in wetland impacts. There is the extra access point that's along the west side of the project boundary that would border the current school site or the future park site that gives some extra access, which I think would have been needed anyway, because we were always concerned about secondary access. And so that's one of the requests through this. That list I had before, I'll go through these quickly. Extension of the DRI build-out date that is for that less than 5-year period, recommended by staff and agreed to by the applicant, not a substantial deviation. The phasing plan changes themselves, not a substantial deviation. Town center development proposal that's here, not substantial deviation. Strickland Road, Durrance Lane language that takes away the obligation because there's no connection to Strickland Durrance Lane, also not a substantial deviation. That public safety site moving, density step down that they're having that's been written in, future borrow pit construction that was mentioned that was going to be in that, it still is within that northwest area that's showing on that Map H. Conservation Park Area Agreement modification that allows a developer to be able to get credits for the elimination of the mineral rights, and where they bought those rights and are going to give those to the county, they're able to get that lift for that purchase that they made for those mineral rights. Recreation areas and those recreation area enhancements, you'll see more mention of pickleball and dog parks than you had seen previously. Transportation impact fee credits, and particularly that FDOT agreement amendment, the aerial truck change to a fire truck replacement, and then that golf course area, a golf course agreement amendment that takes away the per parcel monies and instead creates the ability for the developer to create a similar valued recreational amenity package that would be able to give them the relief from having the multiple fees due, multiple fees that we would end up tracking. We're in favor of that. And all of these changes in total, not representing a substantial deviation, not something that would rise up to the level of a development of regional impact modification that would get that concern from out of the other agencies. This being the greatest change that I think you saw was the elimination of the phasing. So their intent now to take advantage of this market and be able to have that development move forward as it would naturally progress from the south to the north, as infrastructure, as that water and sewer, as the roadway connections are available, they will then progress and ideally through that single phase development. This looks a little different in the proposed development order because previously we had used the 2,302 units as the top threshold, and I like the change that was here. Total residential remaining 1,881 units. You still have those 421 units that are presently vested by others that are effectively south of Airport Road. This is that area north that we're talking about for this. Calling this remaining issues, and these are the things that are going to come back, we hope, as another request to amend the development order. And this really centering on the previous presentation that you saw about the school site. Finding another alternate school site somewhere that would meet their requirements for the school board, and then with that, then the school that school area being then converted over into recreational amenity, high amenity level, and maybe again guided by the board. It maybe won't be as much of that ball field, that regional facility that we had heard previously, but something that's in line with both the developer and what they're wanting to establish there, and then also what the board would ultimately want to see as part of a Flagler County recreation amenity. So with that, I'll close. Recommend the board adopt the resolution amending and replacing in its entirety the Hunters Ridge DRI Development Order, constituting the Fifth Amendment to the Hunters Ridge Development of Regional Impact. I'm confident that we've hit the parts that are needed within the conditions portion of the agreement. I have the attachments that are needed, the DOT agreement, the modification of the Conservation Park area that's been mentioned. We have that as a separate attachment, that amendment to that Conservation Park area agreement, and also then the golf course settlement agreement. I think that I have those parts together now where we've gone through it. We believe that it accomplishes the goals of the applicant and respects, I believe, the need for the developer effectively to fund their improvements and their development to meet the concurrency requirements that we have in this area. And with that, I'll answer any questions or comments. Again, Kim Booker and Kim Buck are present on behalf of the applicant for any questions or comments from the developer.
So questions for Mr. Mengel first, and then we can call on the applicant for presentation or questions. So,
Is the applicant here?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I just want to say, Adam, when we looked at that site, I was really impressed with what those guys were doing, and I did want to tell you, I checked out with my Jewish partners that I work with in the multifamily out of New York and New Jersey, that they know them and said that they're the real deal. They'll do a good job, and they'll be very dedicated to improving that area. Beautiful area. I mean, what they want to do is unbelievable, and it stands to be one of the best neighborhoods in our community.
Commissioner Dance?
Yeah, my little button's not working, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Adam, so one of the items is deleting a requirement for Dern-Strickland Lane. I know there's an addition, as stated, for another connection to Airport Road. My concern is rushing to do this before we have a potential chance to relook at the future land use map and have a discussion about access on the southern part of the county to possibly have a specific connection to this with internal to Flagler and not going through Volusia. I don't know if there's a huge need to delete this, or can we put that as one of the other future reviews, just so we have internally time as a county to look at how we want to handle access. I think the school district should be a part of that as well, because access to that part of the county is problematic for them.
We could, and I definitely hear from the applicant, and I'm not sure if there would be a much resistance on their part. I know that their rationale for that being eliminated was because of the timeframes in the original development order had effectively expired. I don't remember the language that was in there, if it was 3 or 5 years, but there was a timeframe that had elapsed, that had, to their thinking, taken that requirement away. I can mention on our side a couple of things that had happened in the meantime. Strickland Durance had been gifted to the county, that we took over that portion in Flagler County from the Lake Swamp, formerly DRI Lake Swamp Mitigation Bank transfer of that right-of-way to us. And so that what we've been doing then in the meantime is doing dirt road maintenance. It's part of our dirt road program. And that's only the part from the county line west. So that the choke point for us, that point where we've had the problem, has been that part that sits in Volusia. And so it's I think it's 1.5 miles that Junior Strickland, I believe, still has under easements. It's not controlled by a government. It's not under any kind of regular maintenance. And so that even if we had some value, some improvement by the developer and some access, some connection to it, we'd still have that separation at the far east end where it's not connecting to any road network. And in the end, it would connect to Timber Creek. And then still would be a distance within Volusia you'd have to get to be able to get to Flagler. The disclosure need to make is that we have been at least some 10, 12 years ago into talks with Mr. Strickland about a possible route that would be to the north. We did talk about that in the context with this applicant, with the developer on this go-around, on this review, and they're certainly not opposed to it. At the same time, it's not something that they see as really requiring their involvement because they don't have a connection at this point that's proposed. I certainly understand your comment on the value of that because, stating the obvious again, we have no roadway connection presently. And so school bus, traffic, law enforcement, fire that comes to this area has to go through Volusia to get to this portion of Flagler County. And if there's a way for us to make that happen, I think we're in favor. The developer so far has said they are too. But I think specific to Strickland Durance, they view that as expired, as an expired requirement. I'll let them talk more directly about why that maybe doesn't fit in. And again, no roadway connection for them. That was another reason why they didn't want to have that happen. But hopefully I've answered that some for you.
Right. If that's gone, is there, I guess I just am stating this so we have a discussion sometime about that southern part of the county and how we improve access down there. I think when we had the impact fee discussion on the transportation element, it was about capacity issues and roadways that can help with capacity issues, and this would be, something that would apply. And again, for the main reasons you mentioned, school and fire safety and police, it's if there was a more direct route, but I don't know. Obviously the Strickland Durance Road is in an odd angle to the development. Is there another potential connection within this development for a northern access, or are we doing that outside of this, outside of Hunter's Ridge?
I think we'd end up ultimately doing it outside of Hunter's Ridge. That, it would involve, a route through some substantial wetland areas to the north in order to make that happen. Where if it's not Strickland Durance and not that connection still to the east in Volusia County, then it's a longer route to the north and through some areas that are presently conservation and major wetland areas.
Okay. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, so would the applicant care to make a presentation or clarify anything?
Good morning. Kim Booker, Booker & Associates. My address is 1019 Town Center Drive, Orange City, Florida, 32763. I'm here today on behalf of the applicant who desired to be here, but unfortunately it falls within a Jewish holiday, so they weren't unable to attend. But as to the specific questions that you're asking about Durance Lane, the current DRI contained a 10-year period of time in order to try to accomplish the northern access through Durance Lane and Strickland Lane. Unfortunately, there are barriers of various ownerships within that easement area that make it impossible for the developer to bring that or accomplish that goal. In the DRI, the amendment is clearly eliminating it because it lapsed. The period expired for the requirement. The developer per se has no objections to working with the county to continue to try to make something happen, but at this time and what they are requesting is just to remove the language because it has lapsed and is no longer applicable. But we're here today really the amendment has significantly changed in that the majority of the presentation that you were provided last time pertained to the relocation of the school site. As Adam has indicated, we will bring that back at some future date once we're hopefully able to work with the school board to resolve some of that language. But this agreement does significantly enhance the developer's ability to develop more recreational sites throughout the development. And we're here primarily to answer any further questions you might have regarding these issues. We've met with several of you. And I think if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Anything else, Commissioners?
No, sir.
All right, we'll open this one up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on item 9C? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Entertain a motion, Commissioners?
And Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 9C, which is the Fifth Amendment to the Hunters Ridge Development of a Regional Impact.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Item 9D is a business matter we need to take care of, and I guess I'll let you explain it, Mr. Magel.
Thank you. Coincide with the workshop meeting that we had this morning and that continuance of that workshop hearing. This would be the continuation of the consideration of the Education Facilities Impact Fee Ordinance. And we're requesting that this item be opened and then continued to time and date certain or soon thereafter as it may be heard, that date being Monday, November 1st, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. or as soon thereafter as possible for the hearing to be conducted. With that, I'll close. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move this discussion of public hearing related to educational facilities impact fees to a time certain of November 1st, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. or as soon thereafter as possible.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll open this one up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment, call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Mengel. All right, we'll move on to additional reports and comments. First up, our county commissioner, excuse me, our interim county administrator, Ms. Petito.
Thank you. Real quick, just wanted to give you some exciting news and share with regard to the new Sheriff's Operations Center. I know Mr. Newman was here and kind of provided a much higher altitude look, but they have completed the stormwater ponds and piping. They installed the aggregate pilings and sanitary lift station. They're currently working on installing the water and fire lines this week. And we should see some foundation work over the next 2 weeks with the installation of some casting beds, really getting it prepared for that tilt wall construction that you're going to see happening soon. As Mr. Lon Newman had stated earlier, this project is on track for October 2022 completion. Wanted to give you an update on some of our projects. After having a slight delay in materials, we are pleased to share that we do have projects moving forward at the Carver Center expansion. We will be laying concrete blocks this week. Work has commenced for housing the Bunnell Police Department within our government complex. Wadsworth Park, the new restroom, we had been awaiting trusses. They have arrived or should be here by the end of the week. And the demolition of the former Bunnell Library is well underway. We're working with our partners there. We've received materials and we are ready to commence interior renovations this week. As we're wrapping up year end, our dedicated staff has been extremely busy with our closeout procedures, reviewing and adjusting of accounts, and really getting us prepared for October 1st and the start of our new year. Very pleased to announce that, once again, we've been notified that we have ranked #1 for the Florida Division of Library and Information Services. This is for fiscal year 2023 Public Library Construction Grant. So once again, we've ranked #1. This will be reviewed during the 2022 legislative session. We're very hopeful that the governor will grant this program this year and that it'll be funded, as it is our #1 legislative policy priority. So just wanted to share that with you.
Any questions for Ms. Petito?
No.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hadid.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. First, at the last meeting, I told you about the gardens, the ruling from the court, from the bench, validating the county's actions with respect to the gardens development project. I wanted to let you know that on September 15th, he issued a written order to that effect. So that order has now been entered, and the 30-day time clock runs from that date, September 15th, for any further action that those that did not prevail in that case may want to take. So anyway, that's the status of that one. With respect to the old Dixie Motel, as you know, we had reached a settlement agreement with them in our public nuisance suit, which does remain pending, by the way. And part of that agreement was the demolition, the securing of the property, the filling of the pool, and the county department staff that are involved in this. That would be the chief building official, Mr. Snowden, the growth management department through Adam Mengel and his deputy, Chuck Miranda, and Scott Simon, the code enforcement official, determined that they had completed their requirements there. They went a little bit further. They deconstructed the pool, actually, rather than filled it, indicating some intent to build a new pool. However, they did miss their deadline on submitting permit applications for rough-in inspections for electrical, plumbing, et cetera. Staff reviewed that, addressed that in the very beginning of September, and determined after conversations amongst themselves and site review that they would provide the developer an additional opportunity to bring that into compliance. You did receive through an email of Ms. Yude the letter that we had sent. That letter was coordinated among the county staff as part of our operational responsibilities relative to the agreement that we had entered into in pursuit of the pending suit, the pending lawsuit. So they provided them additional time to submit their progress schedules. Since that letter, the staff have heard back, and they have indicated to us that in the course of their demolition and cleanup activities, they discovered that the roof needed to be replaced. Also, they have expanded very substantially the work they're going to do. The scope of the work is being increased about threefold. They have told the staff that within 90 days we should have a permit application. They also explained, and I think it has been referenced a number of times today, that contractors and builders are experiencing supply chain delays and price increases that make the progress of work a little less predictable. But the staff is continuing to follow this, and I'm sure they will. There hasn't been a waiver of anything. That is, we haven't released them from any responsibilities, so we're continuing to pursue that matter. Be happy to answer any questions about those items.
I don't think we have any questions. Anything else, Mr. Hadid?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to community outreach. Again, this is our second 30-minute period allocated for public comment on items not on the agenda, and each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes.
Jane Gentile,
Oh,
you'd,
no, I'm not finished yet.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So sorry.
That's all right. All right, I'm sorry, we're
So I
open.
had requested 7H and 7Q be pulled, but I'm fine with 7Q. 7H is still on the agenda. It's still on the agenda. You didn't pull it. But anyway, and that's fine.
Ms. Yud, I'm going to interrupt you for a second and let you know that we, up front, we deleted that item with a whole list of all 5 of them.
I'm sorry.
So-
Missed that. All right,
so
sorry.
we
forgive-
took care of that.
Okay. Al Hadid just made you statements, staff. I would like in writing by this afternoon where the commission allows the county attorney to override a written agreement signed by a county administrator without going in front of the county commission. I insist upon that as a citizen. Jerry Cameron, these people are supposed to post a $250,000 bond with the clerk of the court. They can get this money back. Al Hadid does not have authority, unless you can prove to me otherwise, that you allow him to take any action he wants to invalidate a county administrator's agreement without your approval. If you allow him to do that, send it to me in writing. Secondly, the county attorney tells me that he has no control over a commissioner having back and forth. I want to make a statement. There is no back and forth email between Joe Mullins and myself. The last email I have ever sent Mr. Mullins was August 2020, asking him to pull an item from an agenda, and he told me he did not want to hear from me. There is not one email in county file from me to Joe Mullins, so Al Hadid is not being truthful with you. Secondly, the county attorney should protect you, his employers. You do not let somebody call a constituent psychotic, unhinged, nor tell them they're never going to get elected. Now, this is also an ethics violation. I am so sorry to tell you that when I ask about the issue at hand, which was the old Dixie Hotel and nothing else, where is the $250,000 bond? It had nothing to do with my personality. It had nothing to do with the fact that I ran and lost an election. Mr. Hadid costs the county, and he lies, and he lies, and he lies. And most unfortunately, my husband and I are discussing me removing my name from running next year altogether for my health, for my emotional health and the abuse. And we will be consulting an attorney to file a lawsuit against Flagler County if you don't tell your employee once and for all, when a constituent asks a legal question, did you have the right to invalidate a $250,000 bond requirement without the approval of the county commission? If that is the case, I should have been sent the ruling that allows the county attorney to do this, and I'll accept it. Now, he's telling you about back and forth. By 5 o'clock tonight, I want copies of all this back and forth because everything is public record, and we will be retaining counsel. I hope you can tell Mr. Hadid that he's to protect you. He's cost you over $700,000 in lawsuits recently.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Hughes. Next speaker, please.
First of all, thank you to all of you for all the work you do. My name is Greg Sullivan. I am a resident of the Leaky high-rise condo. I know that you all work triple overtime as well as your staff. I just want to make sure that I took the time out of my discussions to thank all of you. My topic that I'm here to discuss, I've been told, may not be in your jurisdiction, but that I've been recommended that I discuss this to get on the record. So I appreciate your patience. The catastrophic chain events of the Surfside condo made me come forward. The Leaky high-rise is installing a commercial golf cart charging station in the garage next to the auxiliary power generator. Given the village's report of hydrogen gas release, it makes no sense to put the charging station next to the generator. I can easily envision a tragic chain of events. The exhaust gases accumulate in the garage, as well as the hydrogen gases, would lead to a chain of events that could possibly cause an explosion in the corner of the building. We do not need another Surfside. What causes me pause is that the leaky has been cited several times by the fire inspector, and they have not responded to all of the citations in the garage. Sadly, the city of Flagler Beach has not enforced the recommendations in a diligent way. As an example, the exhaust from the generator during a storm does not exit the building. It stays in the garage and floats around with any other gases that happen to be there. They have not maintained the exhaust fans, and they have not maintained many other items. So the accumulation of the exhaust gases, as well as the potential hydrogen gas release, like I said earlier, could lead to a possible explosion, take out the corner of the building. We do not need another Surfside. I am for a commercial charging station, just not next to the generator. And in my extra time, I'd like to shift focus completely and say, when is the Wadsworth Dog Park going to reopen? Thank you all for your time. Once again, I appreciate every single thing you do. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
Anyone else for community outreach? All right, seeing no one else approach the podium, we'll close community outreach. Mr. Sullivan, two things. One, on the building, you know, that your jurisdiction is City of Flagler Beach and outside our jurisdiction, so I think you know your next steps on that. With respect to the dog park, Ms. Petito?
Thank you. As I stated earlier, we have had some construction delays. The dog park that's located at Wadsworth Park is part of a bigger project. It includes improving the parking lot off of Roberts Road, putting in a restroom facility there with some additional ADA parking, and replacing the dog park. So unfortunately, that project is delayed. It has a lot to do with availability of resources and materials, but we are hopeful that the trusses will be here and we'll be completing that bathroom. That's the first part of that project.
While the construction is happening, is the park itself closed, the dog park?
It is, because it had to be torn down, yes.
Got it. So there's just no access, period.
Currently, there is not.
Got it.
Thank you.
You want to give a ballpark?
I'd be afraid to do that.
I'll support you up to and including your exit interview, so go right ahead.
Not at this time.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
probably a smart answer. You've been coached well by Mr. Cameron. All right, we're finished with community outreach, so we'll move on to commission comments, reports, or actions. Commissioner Dance?
I'm trying to recollect, and I apologize for bringing this up now, but did we do, when 7Q came before us, did we do public comment on 7Q? Okay, just checking. I don't want any of those to come back on us later.
I think you find on the record, we did it.
Okay. All right, that's it. I don't really have any other comments. Thank you.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, just two quick things. Heidi, if we can look into the mosquito spraying, I'm getting a lot of people calling from the west. You know, we had a very good plan with Anastasia mosquito, talking about neutralizing the mosquitoes where they couldn't breed. I know there's some pushback with farmers with the spraying, but this thing doesn't need to get pushed away. These people are in dire need. We need to figure out a price and put it out there. And East Flagler mosquitoes just dropped the ball on this so many times. That's also down in the Rima Ridge area as well. So I don't want to let this thing go because these people are screaming that they're getting eaten alive out there. The second one is the drainage. I know we probably need to sit down and look. There's never been a plan out there. They've kind of built without direction or guidance years ago. And there is a tremendous amount of flooding with the rain because we have had a rainy season. But I almost question is what we're doing just kind of being on a treadmill where we're not getting anywhere because of the lack of overall stormwater system. And until that's done, we're not going to be able to address it. And I know that they're going to have to be aware that there is going to be a cost to them, a cost to us, a cost to the community. But many think we don't do anything out there. And I know we spend 3-4 times the amount that we collect doing work out there, but it seems like it's becoming redundant. And if there's something we can look into, maybe creating a bigger plan. That's all I have.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question to follow up? When the residents are calling you on mosquitoes, are you directing them to staff so that they can accurately log these complaints? Because the only way we can track the need for the services is through our ability to log those in and get that documentation on file. So can you answer that, Joe? Are you asking them to?
I ask them to go to the YouGov Flagler app or to send me an email. I constantly tell them that, but many are starting to go that they feel like that's a waste of time, that it's not drawing any attention. They bring up a very good comment. What in the world do you think has happened out there to make the mosquitoes stop biting us? We've told you once. How many times do we have to tell you before we get action? The calling East County Mosquito Control is no different than spraying part of your house with the bug control and saying, okay, I'm going to spray the other part as needed. All we're doing is moving them around, and that presentation was pretty thorough. So, you know, I can continue to direct them to the app. I continue to tell them to send emails, but the problem's not solved.
Or get their number so staff can follow up with them when they do call you, because the only way it's going to get solved is if there's, factual basis and numbers to back up the need for service.
I can't argue that this West County needs equal services that the East does. I'm not going to argue that with you or anyone else. They need the same services. They are not being treated fairly.
And I think, just to reiterate Commissioner Dance's point, is just make sure we're getting the data to staff so that they could aggregate it up and then, try to pinpoint exactly and help formulate a plan about treatment. All right, I don't have anything, so with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
All right, this will be here.